What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Welcome to the Friday roast. I guess you can call it that. Where today we will definitely be talking about these two individuals right here who definitely deserve it, that y'all saw in the thumbnail. But before I actually really get into everything, make sure y'all go ahead and hit that like button. Y'all hit that share button. Y'all subscribe to the channel if you are new. I would greatly appreciate it. We're going to wait a couple minutes for a few more people to get in here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. But welcome everybody who is here. This is something I have been trying to get done for the last week or so. I would have done this stream last Saturday, but I had to work, so I couldn't do it. So this was the perfect day to put it on. I know that Spidey, I know if he's out there watching it, and I know he's going to come. Hey, Kim, did you get the link? I sent you the link. But we definitely have to talk about this today. And I said I wanted to do it in the form of a live stream, mainly because the article that I'm going to be reading from is so long. It is a very lengthy article that I didn't, even when I was skimming through it before I decided to do this, I had to stop reading. I didn't even make it halfway through. It is a very long hit piece written by one of the people that's on the screen, but both of them play a part in this for sure. Check your Kim, check your DM on Twitter. I sent it to you. But today is like the first ever Blackarin roast live. But like I said, this article is so long, it was no way I was going to be able to do this in a pre-recorded video, because that video probably would have been like over an hour long, and I'm like so serious about that. But let's see, who do we have in here so far? Cop Killer, interesting name. DJ, Chosen One, Mark Handling, Kim, Soldier M, Joseph Washington, Max in the Sunlight. Welcome. I'm glad that you are all here in attendance. We got quite a bit to cover today, and it has to be talked about. What's going on, Jennifer, Lula C? You know, we just waiting for a couple more people to get in. Like usually this would be my Freestyle Friday where I will let people come up, but today is roast day, and these two definitely deserve it. Tia, what's going on? I'm doing good. I hope you're doing well. It's snowing where I'm at. I'm on the East Coast for those of you who didn't know, but it is snowing right now where I'm at. The fourth snow that we've had this month, might I add. But it's winter. It is what it is. Spotted Leonard, Randy B. So I'm just going to wait for a couple more minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, when it comes to this roasting thing, there was no, I said I could roast. Y'all know I do my petty videos and whatnot. But I said that, and this was a last minute thing, because at first I was going to do this by myself. But I said there's only one person I could think of that could do this right along with me. And I call this person the roast master, because whenever they upload a video, I just know they're going to be going in on somebody, and rightfully so. And they actually just came into the back chat or the backstage just now, and y'all actually just saw her in the chat, and this is actually her first time, I think, collabing on my channel. So I'm gonna bring her up right now and add her to the stream. What's going on, Kim?
Hey, how you doing, Torin? How you doing, chat?
I am doing great. I'm having a good day. I'm having a good week. I'm ready to get this thing on and popping. Like I said, you were the first person that I thought of, because like I said, I was going to do this by myself, but I said you definitely will add I would say a woman's touch to this, because you know, even though I know you don't think like either two of these idiots that we're going to be going in on, I know that it's going. I know it's going to be interesting to hear from a woman with what I'm going to be talking about today. And like I said, this article is long, so I hope you got time.
Oh, I
We're not.
definitely got time.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've had a chance. Well, first let me get to the super chat. Shout out to Akuma81 for the super chat. Said, "What up, Torian? I hope everything is going well with you, bro. Showing love from Southern Cali. Appreciate you. Everything is going great." But yeah, I don't know. Did you have a chance to read this article or no?
I kind of glanced past it, but once you kind of, because I'm always late to the damn game when it comes to Twitter anyway. And it just so happened to be like happenstance that I saw where you had DM'd me and wanting me to participate. So I said, okay, let me go brush up on this real quick. And I'm like right in the middle of like reading the article. So yeah, I'm kind of brushing up on things right now.
Yeah,
I knew she was catching a whole lot of crap, and rightfully
yeah,
so.
most
So
definitely.
yeah, I'm happy to participate.
Most definitely. But I'm glad that you were here. The chat is glad that you're here. This is going to be very interesting. We're going to try our best not to throw our monitors. We're going to keep our composure because I already know when it comes to these two. I've talked about Professor Crunk, Brittany Cooper on my channel plenty of times. Now
Mhm.
I've mentioned Jamilah Lemieux on my channel, but I don't think I've ever done a video about her. But today is the day. When I
Oh
saw
yeah,
the headline of that and what they were using as a lead, and I kind of skimmed through it, but like I said, I didn't even make it halfway through because
right.
I was like, okay, let me just stop because I might actually use this later on. And this is later on. So here we are. And shout out to Mars Morrow for the super chat. Thank you for the super sticker. I'm sorry. And they said £3. Oh, so they overseas, they across the pond. Shout out to you. Spidey said Freestyle Friday don't have shit on. You right about that. we gonna
Absolutely.
be listen, we gonna be going in. For those of y'all who are unaware in the chat, uh there was this hit piece that was written by Jamilah Lemieux, or as Professor Black Truth calls her, Jamilah LaPuke, on Vanity Fair a couple weeks ago. She mentioned Dave Chappelle, she mentioned the Academy, and it was basically one long hit piece about black men. It's very long. Like
It really was.
it's a really long article. Like when I tell you long, I'm talking about if you printed this thing out, this thing might be 20 pages. It's that long. Like that
At
she wrote
least.
at least. It's really long. That's why I said if I did this as a pre-recorded video, it would have been over an hour long. But I said, no, let me do this as a live stream and do it like this. But then when I thought of you, I said, "Oh, this is going to be perfect," because I already know how you get, and you know how I get, and they know how we are. Because
Absolutely.
a lot of people that subscribe to me are subscribed to you. And by the way, if y'all are not subscribed to Kimberly Frazier's channel, I would highly suggest that you do. She does very good content. She talks about some of the same stuff that I talk about, but she will go in on you.
Oh,
Like she
I
will go in
appreciate it.
on her subject matters. She goes in, and she does pretty lengthy style videos, so like how Harvey does, like pretty long videos, but they'll keep you engaged. They're not going to bore you at all. Like once you start listening, you won't be able to stop. So if you have not subscribed to her channel, make sure that you do. It's just Kimberly Frazier. You just type it into the YouTube search and it'll come up.
I appreciate it. Also got like a little live stream coming on tonight, a private one actually. I didn't even know that StreamYard could do this, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna be doing like a private screening of the whole Janet Jackson documentary. So if y'all want to come through, regardless of how you feel about her, I know some people will be like, "Well, I don't like her all that much. She turned on Michael," but it's not gonna be all about her. It's just gonna
Mm-hmm.
be kicking back and just shooting the shit. So if you want to come
Right.
through, come through.
Yeah, because I had replied back to you in the DM, and I was saying I actually planned on watching it because I was going to do a review on my
Hmm.
channel because it's in two parts, and
Yeah, it is.
the first part come on tonight, and the second part comes on tomorrow.
Yep.
So yeah, so I definitely will be watching that because that should be a very interesting documentary. And what I like about this documentary is that she's here to do it, because a lot of documentaries are done to people and they're dead. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that we can get we can get her perspective on things, as well as from people who know her about different topics, and even find out some stuff we didn't know. So,
Absolutely.
that this
Straight
should
from the horse's mouth.
listen, I'd rather watch this documentary than that one by that clown Kamal Bell, which I got a video coming up about his clown ass.
Ooh-wee. Oh my God. And he is relentless. It seems
Yeah.
like to me there's a lot of people that, I guess they were fans of Cosby and they might have had an interaction with him and it didn't go as planned. And ever since then, they've been really butthurt over it. And they've just like taken every opportunity to like throw him under the bus.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And I saw a recent article that they just posted up about him today, saying that he something about he feels his career is going to end behind this. And I was thinking to myself, what career?
Not for real.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, what career are you talking about? Because outside of that show you got on CNN that I don't know anybody personally watches, I couldn't tell you anything about him. But his little mockumentary is supposed to be coming on the 31st, and I don't
I'll be sure to miss that
definitely exactly right. My reminders ain't set for it.
For real.
Shout out to Black Chunks for the super chat. All right,
oh my God.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and get started, because usually I like to kick back a little bit for the first 10 minutes and let people come on in, but people are going to start trickling in. And we, like I said, we gonna be here a while, because we're not just gonna read the article. We're gonna start breaking stuff down. And the thing is, because the article is so long, yeah, hopefully we'll be done by 7.
Because this thing like reads like a little short story or something.
A short story.
Well,
if you want to call it that.
20-pager.
if you want to call it that, this thing should have came in chapters. My goodness.
For real.
All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen right quick, and we can go ahead and get started. So for those of you who are looking right now, this is the article from Vanity Fair that Jamilah LaPuke wrote. And just first off, just look at the imagery. She has Dave Chappelle like in a collage form with his head going from left to right and in the rainbow colors. So when I saw that, I already knew where she was headed with this, because
you already know there's an agenda.
Yeah, everybody is so mad, or well, not everybody, but people are uptight about what Dave Chappelle said in his latest comedy special with Netflix, and we just gotta applaud Dave Chappelle for staying solid for the whole thing, despite how you may feel about him outside of this. We can honestly say that he didn't fold, because he easily could have. But I'm so glad. I'm so glad that he didn't. I'm also even more glad and a little bit shocked that Netflix stood by his side. But see, the thing is, Netflix is a business at the end of the day. They're an entertainment platform for streaming, but they're business minded at the end of the day. They know Dave Chappelle is a cash cow, which is why they keep bringing him back to do these specials. And as a matter of fact, I think he's headlining a comedy special in April with a bunch of comedians, and that's Netflix funded or Netflix headed. So he's not going anywhere. Even if Dave Chappelle says that he wants that this is his last special, I have a feeling this might not be. They're gonna ride this thing till the wheels fall off.
I agree. I believe so too. I'm like you. I feel like, it's very rare that a Black celebrity nowadays will just, stand firm in what they believe and tell the whole world, like, look, I said what the fuck I said, we could have a conversation, but you're not gonna summon me. That's what made me like take notice, like, oh, okay, he's for real. This dude is for real. And I'm glad. I may not agree with a lot that he says or represents, but on that, I really did. I felt him on that.
Right. So let's go ahead and get started. And they already starting off with the BS with just the headline. Mind you, we are not even into the article yet. We're on the headline. It says Dave Chappelle and the black ass lie that keeps us down. The comedian perpetuates the idea that straight Black men have it worse than any other group of Black people, including Black women and LGBTQ Black plus Black people. Let's start right there, because this reminds me of a video I just did about this individual who I found out what their name is on Twitter, who did a TikTok video. You may have seen it or you may have not seen it, where he was talking about Black men, heterosexual Black men, and he's in the academy, and how they go about separating themselves from the group. Like he put Black heterosexual men in one corner, then put black women, black trans, and black gays all in one category, and basically said that we are the ones oppressing them.
Wow. See?
And that kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of that article that hit piece that Damon Young wrote on the Root a few years ago when he said black heterosexual men are the white men of the community. I will
Yeah.
never forget that one.
I won't
Man,
either.
listen, if I could have reached through the screen and cyber falcon punched him in the throat for that, but that's fine because the Root is going down the tubes anyway, so they
Yeah,
on
it
their way
really
out.
is.
But yeah, so yeah, this line right here is a hit piece in itself, because what it's basically saying is that here's the thing: black people as a collective have it bad in America, as we already know. But they
Hmm.
love to keep this infighting thing going on. They love to continuously do this. And then you have
Yeah,
people that will feed into that and they'll go along with it. And then that creates even more animosity.
true. It does. I mean, it's nowadays where they get off on it. That's how they make their bread and butter, you know?
Mhm.
They don't want to see us getting along. They don't want to see us having a healthy, conversation, even if we disagree. No, they want it to be straight up like Jerry Springer or Maury
Mhm.
Povich, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so she wrote this on January 13th, 2022. So this article is a couple weeks old. It was a couple days before MLK's birthday. So I believe that was on a Friday. So let's go ahead and let's try not to vomit. So it starts it starts in off with saying, I was in a bad state for about a week after the closer, pissed, disappointed, confused, watching how many black folks, including some I know and love deeply, puffed their chests out alongside comedian Dave Chappelle and echoed his conviction that the alphabet people were being given something, kindness, civil rights, that the blacks were not receiving with the same ease. She sounds like she was in tears. But then again, something
Yeah.
just tells me she was probably just being overly dramatic, as I'm sure she is throughout this entire article. And keep in mind, for those of you who don't know, Jamilah Lemieux's father was an agent. Like he infiltrated the Black Panthers back in the day. He was one
Oh,
of
that
the.
says
He was one.
everything then.
Yes, listen, it's generational. It's
Yep.
generational. That tells you all you need to know about her. And keep in mind, her and Cancer Phillips, who thank God we don't hear from anymore, let God be good and all is good in the world, and do the same thing with her. We don't hear about Cancer Phillips anymore. But I remember when they went to the Breakfast Club a couple years ago begging for a job.
Damn.
Yeah, they
Things were
were saying.
that
I remember it
bad.
was. Yeah, they wasn't sitting up there like sticking out their little cup, shaking it around for some change, but subliminally that's what they were trying to say, that they needed some kind of an employment. So here we are now. It goes on to say, where did the belief that queerness and trans identity make someone any less of a N-word, or I'll just say a nigger or a nigga for that matter, originate? The black LGBTQ plus people don't experience racism and the phobias align with other parts of their identities. That's nothing but a bunch of virtue signaling. We didn't say that y'all don't face racism, but the thing is, they don't see your sexuality. They see your skin color first. And that's what
Yeah.
many of them just don't seem to get. They lead with their sexuality. They put that in the front and they put their skin tone in the caboose. They do that all the
Yeah.
time. That goes back to the video that I just talked about with that Academy member. He
Yeah.
did the same thing, and way too many of them do it, which is why many of us do not feel sympathy or empathy towards their plight. It's not because of who you are, it's because of how you are.
And don't forget Wanda Sykes when she tried to pull that shit too.
Right. Exactly. And I was a fan of Wanda Sykes. I used to watch her. Remember she had that show Wanda at Large? It was a
Yeah.
short-lived show, but it was
Yep.
funny. I actually enjoyed it for the short amount of time that it was on it. Unfortunately, I don't think it lasted a season, but I thought it was a
I
good
don't
show
think
back in
so
like in the
either.
early 2000s. Yeah. So
I enjoyed her as well.
yeah, and I always thought she was a pretty good stand-up. Like I thought she was
Yep.
actually funny. But then she, she started to act a little, a little shaky. And then that's when I
She
kind of
let her
fell off of her.
self-hate come out. That's what it was.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, it says, see, my people are sensitive and rightfully so. We've been bruised and battered from every angle. Racism has rubbed us so raw that a symbol of progress for quote unquote other marginalized groups can easily feel like an affront. It's one thing to say, challenge immigration policies that make it so that white folks can safely and legally seek asylum here, while people from black nations are deported and worse. But you cannot pit the blacks against the alphabet people, nor can you separate the blacks from women or the bitches, as Chappelle calls us.
Mm.
I mean, it's pretty blatantly obvious what she's doing here. We're only on the fourth paragraph, the fourth of like 1,000.
Right, right.
Like we see what she's doing, and let's be real here. To everybody who's listening to this right now, Jamilah Lemieux did not write this article towards black people. She was writing this to white women. Because if you look
Yeah.
at, Brittany Cooper, who's the other one, Professor Crunk, or as I like to call her, Professor Crunch, was on this picture. She wrote on her Twitter page about how she liked this article and everything like that, and then said it has nothing to do with the fact that Jamilah mentioned me or highlighted me in the article. Yes, it was. Then why would you even say that then? But when
Right.
Brittany wrote that up there, most of the people that was responding in kind to this were white women. I didn't see not one black woman co-sign this article when Brittany Cooper retweeted it on her page a couple weeks ago. Everyone was literally going in. Every black person I saw, whether it been a man or a woman, was going in on Brittany Cooper and Jamilah Lemieux about this article. And the only ones giving them praise was white women, all three of them.
Yep.
So keep in mind, she did not write this Vanity Fair hit piece to black people or black women. She wrote this for white women, and you can hear how she writes certain things. How it's almost like a dog whistle to them, like a dog whistle signal to them to quote unquote beware of black men like Dave Chappelle.
Oh yeah.
As if the people over at Netflix is going to care. You literally had people who work over at Netflix literally leave and do underhanded things to try to get Dave Chappelle canceled.
Man.
Canceling you, Jamilah, will be a cakewalk.
Exactly. Oh my God.
All right, but let's continue with this. She says many of us are both or more. When you try to separate us, sort us, you feed the black ass lie. Black Americans are not solidly unified around many things aside from the desire to be free, and we don't all agree on what freedom looks like. We don't have a singular political agenda, nor a governing document that lines up our shared values. Even within the massive force that we call the Black Church, there are strikingly different directives about how we should live. However, I will argue, as I have for the last 20 years and will until my last breath, that aside from craving liberation, black folks are only single-minded in believing strongly that black men are disenfranchised by the proverbial system and that our people have an obligation to care for them.
Mm.
So she's basically saying that somebody, I guess in her head, because apparently this is who she's listening to, because she ain't listening to us. But then again, we're
No.
not talking to her. We are talking about her though. She in her head, the little voices are saying, Jamilah, black men are the only ones that are affected by systemic oppression and racism. You don't matter, which is a lie because that affects everybody. But see, she's also doing is, besides with the academy putting their sexuality forward, she is a black woman, is putting her being a woman before being black. So she's
Right.
putting her gender before being, and that's a typical feminist thing to do. Is that they are women, they're woman first, and black second. Tell that to all the black women and black girls who were killed unjustly over the years. I mean, we don't have to go down the list, but I don't think when they were killed did they ask them, "Are you a feminist?"
True.
They didn't see that because it's not like they were walking. Even if they were walking around with a shirt that said "feminist" in big bold letters, That's not what they were paying attention to in that moment.
No, not at all.
And
This
before I get,
article overall, go ahead.
oh, and before I continue, shout out to Sean from the shop for the super chat. She said, "What's poppin', nephew? See you roasting these fools." Of course, most definitely. We don't let people go unscathed over here. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, she's not only did she use this article to, like give like a signal to white folks, like, please love me, please like me, accept me into your group. I'm one of you. She's
Mm-hmm.
that's what this article screams. If she
Exactly.
were right in front of us, it would be coming through her fucking pores, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
Like, please like me, please love me. Because
And everything.
and I noticed in her
Go ahead.
bio, when it comes to her personal life, it makes no mention of a partner that she might have. All I know is she has a kid. I don't know if she's
Mhm.
married or just living with somebody, or if she's just what I kind of figure, she's alone and miserable.
Yeah, probably a cat lady. She probably has a
Maybe.
bunch. She might have a
She
bunch of
certainly
cats.
looks like a super villain. She looks like one of them damn super villains that have a cat on their lap, petting it and just trying to concoct whatever little stories that she can make up in her mind about, the big black boogeyman being the worst thing in the whole world.
My goodness. Okay, let me get back into this. Okay, she said, black conservatives, black feminists, which I'm very certain she is one, and nearly everyone in between speaks seriously of the plight of the black man. We may not all agree on how to address said plight, but we all agree that it exists. But the black man, and keep in mind how she puts that in quotations, the black as if black men, preferably heterosexual black men, are some kind of an anomaly, as if we just dropped down here from Mars and we're like some alien being that took over a black body. Like she put that in quotations. She says, but the black man is too often coded language for the cis het black man, and I hate that word. I hate that word, cis. Do you hate that word?
That word is just so fucking annoying to me. It really is. I
Yeah.
hate it as much as I hate like, the term white supremacist. I hate that term too. It's just right up there with all of those overused terms that society is like just clings to. I just wish that we would get a different vocabulary, really.
And I
It's
actually
played out.
found, and I think if I'm not wrong, I think that cisgender terminology came from a white German man back in the 90s. I
Wow.
think. I think that's where that terminology came from. So yeah, you see where they're getting their language, their terminology from. She
Oh
says,
yeah.
and the degree to which any and all other groups of black people are suffering, that is up for the debate. This could be just chalked up to sexism and other various other phobias, but I think it's deeper than that. Many of us hold the biggest space for our men and sometimes our boys, but rarely at the expense of the men in our collective hearts because we feel like they need it more than anyone else. So now it seems to me like almost like she's jealous. Like it sounds envious. Like,
Hmm.
oh, the black men are getting more attention than we are, and we out here doing all this. Listen, twerking at a Black Lives Matter protest is not protesting, and we've seen plenty of that. I'll never forget the time when I saw them twerking on top of the police cars, like they was at Magic City.
Right, right. It does kind of
Wow.
come across a little bit penis envyish to me,
Yeah.
like maybe she low key
Mm-hmm.
wants to be a dude, kind of like how I
Maybe.
feel about Oprah. I feel like Oprah wants to be white and male. I really do. Like that bitch ain't gonna
Well, I
be
definitely agree with you.
satisfied when she dies and
I
comes
definitely agree
back
with you with the white
like
part.
somebody like a Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah, when I definitely agree with you with the white part because she even said that out of her own mouth a few years ago.
She sure did.
Um, she's a Black America's version of the big lie, the black ass lie is that black men have it worse than any other group of black people. In her best-selling eloquent rage, a black feminist discovers her superpower. Scholar and crunk feminist, there she go.
Yep.
There it is. Crunk. Collective co-founder Brittany Cooper writes, Black men grow up believing and moving through the world politically as though they have it the toughest, as though their pain matters most. as though Black women cannot possibly be feeling anything similar to the dehumanization and disrespect they have felt. There is little to no consideration of what those of us who are harmed by misogyny and maybe hurt even worse might endure. That it might in many cases be worse for us, laments Cooper, seems to many men a preposterous supposition. Now that's the part where Brittany Cooper had wrote on there her page and said, "I'm not supporting this. Just, well, I'm supporting this, and it's not just because she mentioned me. There's the mention right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she wrote that. But let's like dissect a little bit of what Professor Crunch just wrote. She said, Black men grow up believing and moving through the world politically as though they have it the toughest, as though their pain matters the most, as though Black women cannot possibly be feeling anything similar to the dehumanization and disrespect they have felt. What Black men has she been talking to?
The ones in her mind.
Yeah, just like exactly, just
mind.
like Jamilah. But let's keep in mind, Kim, this is the same woman that said, and I kid you not, and you probably heard this. This is the same woman who said that the reason she gained weight is because 45 was in office.
Lord have mercy.
That's what she said. I kid you not. I remember that. I said, if I didn't remember anything else about Brittany Cooper, I remember when she said that. She said she had gained weight because Donald Trump was in office. So I'm sitting here saying to myself, and I looked at her when Donald Trump was in office, and I'm like, wait a minute. The size that you are when Donald Trump is in office, there's no way you could have blew up like that overnight. So that means you was big when Obama was in office. And 45 has been out of office for over a year, over 2 years now.
Yeah.
So you're still the same size.
Yeah, she was a duplex and she's gonna be a duplex now. So she's just lying, just making up shit.
Exactly. Like when she said that, I said, okay. So racism is attributing to your morbid obesity. That's a factor now. Come on.
That choice is accountability is lending itself to that, dear. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump or anybody else who happens to take office right now.
You ever seen that movie, The Omen?
Which one? The old,
the first one.
19.
Yeah, like the old
I have.
Do you remember that part at the end of remember that part in the movie when they were driving by the church for the funeral and Damien flipped out? And then, because he couldn't go in the church because he's the son of the devil. That's how she is every time she drives past the gym.
That's exactly what it looks like.
That's exactly what happens. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. We have gyms out here called Planet Fitness, and we have Brittany Cooper over here shaped like a whole planet.
Exactly. Like, girl, come on. Who are you fooling? Just say you're an emotional eater and be done with it. If you want to change it,
just like
to the damn gym.
And ironically, her name is Professor Crump, which is the playoff of Professor Clump. And what was he doing in the Nutty Professor? Eating a whole jar, mason jar full of M&Ms, sitting there eating ice cream and crying, just tossing them back, like
inhaling it like a whole fucking vacuum cleaner.
Right.
Good grief.
Okay, let's continue. She said there's little to no consideration of what those who are harmed by misogyny and maybe hurt even worse might endure. Again, another feminist talking about, but the only thing I will say is that at least she'll admit that she is a feminist, because some will talk, that feminist talk and say that they're not, but at least she admits that she is. And whenever I hear a person use that word misogyny, especially like that, I already know what type of time they on. She says that it might in many cases be worse for us, laments Cooper. So hold on. So you're saying that the Black voices in your head, the Black men in your head, is saying that they're facing so much more than what Black women are going through, and you're saying that is completely untrue, but then you're going to finish it off and say that it might in many cases be worse for us. So you're just doing that double speak.
Pretty much.
You're basically that's what she's doing. That bimbo babble, as Tariq calls it.
She might as well have two fucking heads like a carnival circus freak at this point. Like,
right. She does look like she left. She does look like she's like a refugee of Ringling Brothers, though.
She really does, with her little poodle hair having self.
Right. And I think she was recently on with Mark Lamoise Hill, of all people, on that whack BNC, talking crap about Cosby yet again. I don't know what they said. Really, honestly don't care, because it's like they don't have any other talking points, and that's another so-called black. I can't even call that a black media source because you know they're definitely not. They so down in the
No.
dumps. I'm like, why did they even come up with BNC, which is not and has never really been black owned?
Nah, they might as well just go ahead and call themselves the white, mouthpiece center. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And had he
Exactly.
not learned anything from his heart attack? Didn't he have a heart attack not too long ago?
I think so. I know he was in the hospital for something, but people don't heed to the warning signs. But I guess it takes a little bit more life experience for something to happen, and then that's when they'll click for them.
Maybe he needs to die and go straight to hell for a little bit and then come back and, change his ways. I don't think he went to hell yet.
Wow.
For real. I mean, I'm tired of him. I'm tired of Don Lemonade. I'm tired of all of
Oh
these
yeah, I had to
little,
go on. I had to go
turncoats.
on Don the other. I had to go on Don Lemon the other day. Going to sit up there and tell people that if they do their research when it comes to Woo It and the thing that they're idiots. What kind of
Oh
statement is
God.
that for you to make? You're talking
Exactly.
about dealing with. I'm like, you're talking about dealing with people's health. Just because you took it and you feel fine and you're able to maneuver the way that you want, or maybe not because the world is not at the place it was pre Woo It, then that I mean, for you to say something like that, that says a lot about you.
It does. It
But
really
this is Don.
does.
But then again, this is Don Lemon we're talking about. So I would expect that out of him. Like he rarely varies from the script. The only thing he's ever said that I've agreed with is he says that white men are the most dangerous people in America. That's the only thing I could agree with him saying that, and that caught me off guard mainly because he's married to a white man. So I was like, oh,
Exactly. Like make it make sense. I don't get that. Like, I mean, did you marry just the one white good decent dude out there? Like, how does that
I
work?
mean, I guess. But let's continue. Um, It says, anyone see that Ray Rice tape? I can't stop watching it. It's fucking awful. It's the most violent thing I've seen happen to a woman that was shot in color. Somehow I doubt that. But they
Yeah.
had to overinflate to make it seem like, oh, Ray Rice, the big bad boogeyman. But what made them so mad was when his now wife, because at the time she was his fiance, when his now wife actually admitted that she was in the wrong. They
Yeah.
hated her after that. They was like,
Oh
you wasn't
yeah.
supposed to say that. You was supposed to be on our side. You was supposed to pull a Rihanna, but they didn't
Yeah.
get a
They
Rihanna
hate
out of
that.
her.
Nope.
That's what they were banking on, but that didn't happen. Unfortunately, it didn't do anything for Ray Rice's career because after that, his career pretty much in the NFL was done. It was done after
Yeah.
that. She's if I could have froze time at that moment and gave Ray Rice some advice, I don't think there's any way possible I'd be like, you should punch her in the face. That's a fucking terrible idea at the same time. I also believe she shouldn't have rushed him. What the fuck? You can't beat him. Don't rush a motherfucker that's trained to stiff arm people in the clutch. He's going to get the upper hand. And this is coming from deep in the heart of Texas and Dave Chappelle live at the Austin City Limits. So she used this quote from Dave
Mm.
Chappelle to drive a point that while Dave Chappelle is saying that it is messed up, she was still wrong for what she did because the thing is, I believe that she was drunk and she was being incoherent and just off the chain. And
Yeah.
I believe she spit at him, and that's what made him hit her.
Yeah.
When
I
spitting on someone
remember
is like,
that.
spitting on someone is like one of the biggest forms of disrespect that you could
That's
do.
one of the
And it,
worst next to throwing a
yes,
shoe at somebody.
because that's germs. You don't know what people might have. So
No.
that's what made him hit her was when she spat on him. So I
Yeah.
can see why he flipped out on her because I think at one point she was like hitting him, but then when she spit, that was it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you gotta understand, um, what they were trying to lean on was her being drunk, and he should have been more understanding that she was drunk. Nah, bump that because I've
Right.
seen people who are
Right.
drunk who don't spit. So she in that moment she could have been sober in her right mind in that moment. And that's why she had
Absolutely.
to admit that. That's why when she looked back at it, she had to admit that she was in the wrong.
Yeah.
Slightly because of what she did and she spat on him and that made the feminists mad because she was supposed to get on their code and say it's all his fault and to take him for all he has, which did
Yeah.
not
He
happen.
turned
And then it
himself.
took it a step further and got married to him. That made them even more outraged.
That they were just done with her at that point. I
They
I'm,
were
I
they were
applaud her
they were
for holding herself accountable for that because a
yeah,
lot of women
exactly.
don't. A lot
Exactly.
don't. And it's like, I'm pretty fair minded. If you hit somebody, you should expect to get hit the fuck back. No, it's not right. But I mean, you can't just go off of that old frame of thinking that, oh, if I hit him, he ain't gonna do shit. Because it's gonna
Exactly.
happen. So
Mm-hmm.
just keep your hands to yourself, both men and women.
Exactly. She goes on to say, Black people are not wrong to want to love our men and love them hard. Black men and boys are uniquely disenfranchised on account of their identities, but they are not alone in having such an experience. Furthermore, their oppression does not absolve the men themselves of the power of patriarchy. Here we go. And it does
Mm.
not prevent them from exerting that power over women and LGBTQ plus people, particularly Black ones. I
Oh,
wish they
come
would
on.
stop with this whole patriarchal thing where they feel that they're giving Black men way more power than we actually have.
I
Black
know.
men as a collective don't have that much power. First off, we don't even have the numbers like that to
For
say that we
real.
have this much power. And they keep throwing this thing out of power. If Black men had so much power, then why is it a couple years ago when Dr. Dre was at his home, this white guy who has nothing on Dr. Dre's wealth, nothing, parked in
Mm.
front of his driveway, and when Dr. Dre confronted him, the white guy called the police on him, and the police confronted Dre and not the white guy in front of his home. If
Exactly.
I'm like, Dr. Dre is like practically a billionaire, and this guy is probably barely a thousandaire, a bum, parked in front of his home, and who gets hemmed up? Dr. Dre in front of his house for
Yeah.
something for trying to get this guy to leave his property. How he got there, I don't know. How he even found his house, I'm not sure. But he was there.
Mm.
I will never forget that. I mean, that's not power. Because
No,
it
not
doesn't
at
matter
all.
how much money a Black man has in a society, they're going to be seen. Well, now they've escalated from a low class to an uppity nigga at that point, and that's still low on the totem pole. Rather, when you
Pretty
think about it,
much.
I will never forget that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, she said Black women's lives are largely colored by these lopsided loyalties. From look at that. She said lopsided loyalty. So being loyal to Black men is lopsided now.
Wow. Now that says to me, yeah, I'm single. I don't have anybody. And I'm pissed about it and bitter.
And you know what? You know what? When I hear that too, she is. I don't know if she's going to put it in this article, but I'm saying it now. She
Yeah.
probably calls those type of women pygmies. That's what that one
You know
statement.
what? Now that you mention it, I feel like she does too. Yep.
Yes, and that's another term I hate. I hate that term pygmy, and I don't know how they flipped the term mammy the way that they did, because I could have sworn mammy was sort of like the basically a bed wench, but they flipped it and made the term mammy into a Black woman who supports Black men. And the thing is, it's
Yeah.
not Black women supporting Black men no matter what. It's them
Right.
supporting them when they need the support. But they don't
Yeah.
even want that to happen. They
No.
want Black men to basically be out on the land by themselves, and preferably on the side where there's nothing there, almost like a nomad.
Oh, yeah. And we definitely need to come up with some different words because even bedwench is not a
Oh, I
very
like.
accurate word. Because
Well,
some of these
well,
women,
well,
they go ahead.
I'll use my term for the ones that I created. Black Karen.
See, there you go.
That's my that I forget. You know what? And that's ironically that's what I put in the thumbnail. The roasting these two Black Karens. So, but yeah,
Yep.
that's basically what I call it. And let me, hey, Kim, let me tell you, I had so many of them mad at me from
Oh,
the
I
time
bet.
I started making these videos about them. And I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna make one about the men, and I'm gonna call them Bed Bucket. And guess what? Just like I already knew, none of them come over to there to talk this crap the same way that they do over there. It's just a matter that they don't like to be held accountable for nothing.
Not a damn thing. Not a thing. Like, and you should have
Nothing.
seen, like, when I did that whole segment on the bonnets, that whole situation
Oh,
with that. Oh, they got pissed. They got so mad at
I
me.
bet they
I
did.
think they got more mad at me than they did at Monique.
It's so funny too, because
They were
ever since
mad.
Monique had called them out about them bonnets, and one day after I saw that, I literally saw someone walking around with that bonnet, and I said, Hashtag stairs Monique Lee.
I know.
I'm literally thinking Monique in my head when I saw somebody wearing that bonnet.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Like, what would Monique do?
right. All the memes started to pop up in my head when I saw that. Okay. She says, from girlhood, we see black men as our greatest hope in this world, as both fierce kings for us to serve and vulnerable princes for us to protect. As the old saying goes, many of us love our sons and raise our daughters, and we often raise them to think twice before ever dropping a dime on one, even if he's harmed us greatly. We are encouraged to accept the bare minimum in our romances and express gratitude to be able to love a brother at all. And somehow this is supposed to be in the service of a greater black good. When I hear her say that, now she's heading into the relationship portion of it. She's basically
Yeah.
saying that if a man is abusing his woman or any type of way, or maybe cheating on her, basically anything that will be kind of seen as negative in a relationship,
And
why
not
does
only
the
that,
woman
but
tend to
painting with a
stay?
broad brush.
Yeah, a very broad brush, as if black men are some of the worst mates to be with, and that's a dog whistle for to the women to divest,
Yeah.
go elsewhere. To the people in the chat, that was a subliminal divestment message that she put right there. She just didn't say divest.
Right. Clearly.
That's what she's trying to say. And then you think about what recently happened with Lawrence Smith Fields and what she was posting and who she was listening to. I said, had it been left up to me, all them divestment people that she was listening to, if she was able to survive that, and she said she got these tips from these and this people, them people would have been brought up on attempted murder charges.
For real. For real.
They would have been like thoroughly investigated.
Good grief. I just feel like all of these divestors, women like her, they just need to be herded up on a big ass plane and or shuttle and just shot off the planet. That's just how I feel. Like, just land their
Right.
asses somewhere else.
Exactly. Listen, if Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos can do it,
Hell yeah,
I mean, it's showing that regular people who are not astronauts can do it. I mean, we know, well, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk wouldn't be deemed regular people, but on an astronaut side, they're not astronauts. If they can do it, then it's possible. And
It
send
is
them further.
more than possible.
Don't just send them to the edge of the earth. Send them all the way out there. I don't send them to another galaxy at this point. I don't even want them in the solar
fucking
system.
Pluto. And Bezos got that dick-shaped rocket ship, and it's white. Of course, she will love it. She'll love that shit.
And it's white too, so she'll definitely love that.
Oh my God. Perfect match.
Right. She says, but our thing with black men is not a reciprocal arrangement, and some of them will be quick to tell you that they never asked for this. The average black man was not raised to see himself as obligated to the women of our race, certainly not to queer people or the other bitches. Her words. His obligation is to himself to get as free as he can be. Over time, we end up committed to supporting him and his freedom, not ours.
Cue the violence.
Exactly. The people in her head are talking. They're arguing at this point. Like, they are telling her that at this point, not only the people talking in her head, but they're speaking in another language that she doesn't understand.
Exactly.
Like, they're speaking in a foreign language at this point. She's basically trying to, like, again, this is another divestment type of thing, tone that she's using for black women to go elsewhere where they feel that other men will treat them better. But that is definitely not always the case. And she's making it seem like black men are selfish. She said his obligation is to himself to get as free as he can be.
Right.
And then she's basically saying, and then she's trying to make it seem like black women are the clean, like basically the maid. She says we're committed to supporting him and his freedom, but not ours. But that's another talking point that you would hear from a feminist, which I'm very certain Jamilah is.
Yeah.
She says, as a result of the black ass lie, identifying as a black feminist is akin to identifying as a hater of black men in the eyes of many, and disloyal to black men is one of the greatest crimes a black woman could commit. That's because identifying as a black feminist is identifying a hater of black men. Look at your talking points. This woman actually is writing all of this and thinking that she's not a hater of black men. But not only that, But a lot of these black feminists just hate black people, period. Not just the men, but the children. A lot of them don't like their daughters, because to see their daughters probably grow up and do wonderful things that they could not do, that green eye of envy kicks in.
Not only that, I would venture to say she's that type of woman that would say, you know, abort your black sons. I would venture to say that she would be that kind of. I really would,
Yes.
because she seems mean spirited enough to say some shit like that. She really does. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
I wholeheartedly agree. I definitely do. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
She says, it doesn't matter what a black male comedian, rapper, politician, or scholar says about black women. His love for his people is unlikely to be challenged. But to be a black woman who is for the women, expect to have your politics weaponized against you, to be told that you are what hold us back, you are what divides us as a people. Now, I'm gonna let you take this one, Kim, since you are a black woman. What is your take on that statement that she just wrote?
Today I got the floor. Okay, well, the way I see it from that statement right there, those politics aren't your own. You're hijacking that and biting off of white women. Okay? The same things that benefit white women are not the same things that benefit black women. In fact, I got a problem with black women who always want to call themselves feminists. What the fuck are you a feminist for? Don't get me wrong. I love it that, you know, a person who could say, yeah, I want equality for everybody. But we know where the term feminist comes from. And it's not the same for them, you know, the way it is for us. I don't know, we got it in our minds that we can have the same things, or that we're being oppressed by our men, or treated unfairly by our men, the same way that white women are when it comes to their guys. This is the fucked up game that they play. It's like you got white women in black women's ear, like this Jamilah person, telling her, oh, you don't need a man. You can be bad by yourself. You know, you don't need this. You could be a strong black woman. And, you know, asking her to join you in your little pussy parties and, you know, hear me roar and whatever the hell it is, you know, little parties that they have
Yeah.
together. Meanwhile, after all the dust is settled and everybody's gone home, the white woman still goes home with her white man, and the black woman is going home by her damn self. Like, look at that. Make it make sense.
Exactly.
She's
And like
all
somebody
alone.
just said, and like somebody said in the chat, they mentioned Sandra Bland. If you remember, they were all on Sandra Bland's side, like everybody was, when Sandra Bland had unfortunately died in the way that she did. But
Right.
when that video came out where she was talking about her criticisms that she had of the Academy, you had the Academy and a bunch of these black feminists turn on her in a heartbeat. And mind you, this video that they're talking about came out after she died, after she was dead.
Yeah.
So they just started talking a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, whoa, y'all just quickly flipped on this woman and she's dead. First, and she's not even here to defend herself. Because I remember remember when she had the when they did the special about her on HBO a few years ago. Like, it was probably about a year after she was dead, after she died. And I had watched it.
I saw that.
And that's when all of that stuff came out. And I was like, wow. And that's why I said the black feminist does not only care or does not only hate black men, but she hates black people. And that proved it to me right there. And this was a woman who was definitely black first. There was nothing feminist about Sandra Bland. Like, if you watched her videos, like if you watched her videos, imagine if she was alive today, what kind of platform she would have. She would have been one of the most outspoken. Sandra Bland could have been on her way to be the next Sister Soldier.
You know what? And I believe that too, fully. She probably would have been on the front lines when it came to Breonna Taylor, even, or George Floyd.
Most definitely.
I really do believe that.
Yeah, because she had a powerful message. So, and the thing is, her platform was just starting to grow. Like, people were just getting started to figure out who she was, and then this happens. I wouldn't be surprised if that had something to do with it. They probably like, oh, we got to get rid of her. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if she started
to make a fuss.
Yeah, but yeah, let's keep going. She said, yet even the most radical black feminists have typically made plain their commitment to standing in solidarity with our brothers while challenging the power that patriarchy affords them over us. What patriarchy? I'm trying to figure this out. What I'm trying
I,
to figure out what they're talking about when they say that this patriarchy that black men have over, you know, black women. And
I
let's be
have
real
no
here.
clue.
If the look at what the patriarchy is doing to other groups of people, but even their women is not giving them that this much of a headache. They might be, but at least they're not letting it be known.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Again, the voices in her head.
Yeah.
She says, in the Combahee River Collective Statement, the 1977 manifesto, written by Barbara Smith, Beverly Smith, and Demita Frazier. Any
No
relation?
relation. Nope.
The importance of building community alongside black men is underscored early within the pages of the grounding document. Our situation as black people necessitates that we have solidarity around the fact of race, which white women, of course, don't need to have with white men, unless it is their negative solidarity as racial oppressors. While the statement's authors were lesbians, they spoke plainly to the complicated relationship between black feminists who love black men, romantically or otherwise. We struggle together with black men against racism, while we also struggle with black men about sexism. Now, listen to that. She says that these authors were lesbians. No
Mm.
surprise there,
Nope.
because I tend to think that many black feminists might be in that academy. After
Yeah.
all, notice that many black feminists are advocates of the academy.
Oh,
Almost all of
absolutely.
them. Almost all of them.
I'd venture to say, yeah, every time I hear the word feminist and black woman mentioned in the same vein, oh, absolutely. Like, okay, you're lesbian. Yeah, either that
Yeah,
or a man hater,
exactly.
in today's
hmm
world.
You know what I be saying to them sometimes, and if I ever come in contact with them, or
What?
like this is my go-to response: "You just mad because you can't pee standing up."
Maybe. You never
I listen. Listen. I'm waiting for the day when that actually happens, so I can say that just to see the look on their face. Like they probably like, huh? They probably gonna be grabbing their pearls. Like what?
Oh my God.
I'm waiting on the day to say that to one of them that comes across me and just come at me sideways. I'm waiting for that day to happen.
Man, it hasn't happened already.
No, it has not, unfortunately, but we keep hope alive.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. She says, black women have not been particularly outspoken about Chappelle's treatment of us in his work. Before daring to see, here's the thing. She said, black women have not been outspoken about. So basically, she's saying that if
Mm,
we're upset, you should be upset. So Kimberly,
right.
she's mad that you're not mad with her.
Oh,
Basically,
too
you're
damn
not on
bad.
code with
Cool
her.
hair. I'm not gonna be mad.
Exactly. Before daring, you know what's so crazy? The stuff that we be mad about, which is what we should be righteously mad and pissed about, that they're
Hmm.
not.
Oh
And the
yeah.
stuff that they be mad about is like stuff like this, something that you shouldn't even be even remotely pissed about. But here we are.
Exactly. Right.
Before daring to wade into this mess of a media cycle, I have been too badly burned by reactions to my criticisms of actual sex offenders like Bill Cosby. Here we
Oh
go.
Jesus. See,
Yeah, there it is.
I can't
Who's
take this heifer
and
serious.
wait to see who she mentions next. Whose conviction for aggravated, indecent, and sexual assault was overturned on a technicality. It wasn't. They
Right.
keep mentioning technicality. It wasn't a technicality. They screwed
No.
up the case. They screwed
Oh
up the
my
case.
God. Big
But
time.
they wanted to be a technicality so they could say that he got out because of whatever besides what he actually was released for. It wasn't a
Exactly.
technicality. They even said it wasn't a technical. I mean, mainstream media, of course, kept pushing that technicality crap, but eventually they had to stop because
Yeah,
it's
they
just the
did.
fact that they didn't want Bill Cosby out of jail. Now you got this clown Kamal Bell want to do this hit piece mockumentary on Bill Cosby. Like I said, we ain't watching it.
No,
And
no,
R.
we're not.
Kelly, they got to throw R. Kelly in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have thrown in like Stephen Collins. Couldn't have thrown in Harvey Weinstein or any of them of their ilk.
Mm-hmm.
No, we gotta
Exactly.
we gotta put Cosby under the bus again. We gotta do R. Kelly again because
Exactly.
you know
To
I just
risk
can't.
what would to risk what would come of triggering Chappelle's sensitive audience. I suspect part of this has to do with the ways we're socialized to make space for our men to speak, particularly through art. In the 1990s, civil rights activist and elder C. Dolores Tucker was made the scourge of young black people everywhere for daring to stand up to hip hop, setting the tone for what black women who dared to critique the culture could expect. While the advent of social media has given us outspoken black bitches more of a platform, now keep in mind why she keeps saying that, because she's saying that in a way of how she interprets black men talk to black women and refer to
Yeah.
them as bitches. Let's
Yeah.
keep in mind, there's a lot of black women that refer to themselves and to their friends as that word too. But she
Yeah.
ain't gonna say that. She's not
Nope.
gonna say that. This is more of a platform than we could ever have hoped for in the past. It's also made it easier than ever to harass and demean us. Let's keep in mind, if you remember back in the, I'm not sure, maybe it was the early 2000s or late 90s, when hip hop artists would put black women, particularly darker tone black women, in their music videos, there was a time where black women came out and protested and saying, don't see us as sexual objects, where you don't want to be like video vixens anymore, stuff like that. The
Right.
black men abided by that and said, okay, cool, we won't put you in our videos anymore because, you know, of a respect thing. So they started
Right.
putting in more ethnically ambiguous women, maybe women of other groups, like maybe white women, Hispanic, Latina, uh,
Yep.
Asian, even. And guess who got mad? Those same women who said, don't objectify us. I'm like, you
Yeah.
cannot have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly. Like, come on, man. You can't talk out of both sides of your damn neck. Like,
Right.
either you want to be, included in this or you don't.
Exactly, and you should, like I said, the black men were looking out for you. They didn't combat you and say, why are you being uptight about it? Why are you being mad about it? At least you're getting paid. They didn't say none of that. They said, okay, fine, we won't put you in the videos anymore. And that's when you started to see a slow decline of them appearing in the video, and you started seeing other groups or other looks, more of a lighter shade or quote unquote exotic. That, for those of y'all out there, that's where that whole thing about them not liking exotic or talking about the exotic female came from, when they started putting the quote unquote exotic female in their videos. But they were
Yeah.
the same ones that said they didn't want to be in it because they didn't want to be objectified. I'm like, okay, they
Right.
honored your wishes, but now you're upset because now you feel like you're not being seen.
Yeah. Yep.
She says, we don't even have to ask black women to sacrifice for our survival. The author Michael Denzel Smith wrote in Invisible Man got the whole world watching a young black man's education. They do so without formal request. In turn, we dismiss the concerns of black womanhood as trivial or divisive, failing to see black women's pain as real or indeed for our attention. Who's saying that no one's acknowledging anything that you're going through? But see,
Right.
I've even told black women this who try to use that talking point with me. I said, who died and made you the center of the universe?
Right.
I've said that a few times, and they can never really come back from anything with that, because that's the thing. No one has died and made you the center of the universe. You
Nope.
planted yourself there, but the thing is, you're not really there. Again, in your head, that's where you are with it. So the thing is, you have people like Shahrazad Ali, who got in their ass a few years ago, and they
Oh
still
my
upset about that.
God.
They
She's
still
one of
hit
my
her about.
personal heroes.
Oh
Quiet as
yes,
kept.
most
She really
definitely.
is. That is
Her
a
and
strong, very powerful, smart black woman who had the guts to stand up before everyone and just say, you know what? Black women fuck up too. And we need to hold ourselves accountable. And I
mhm,
wholeheartedly agree.
yeah, most definitely. And they hated her for it. And it's crazy part is that book that she came out with, the guide about the black man to understanding the black woman, or was it
Mm-hmm.
the guide to the black for the black woman to understanding the black man?
Yeah.
The black men did not complain.
Nope.
They knew what was going on with them. They knew that there was some issues that had to be fixed and to be tweaked and critiqued. But the
Yep.
minute she came out with the polar opposite of that book, which was the guide for black men to understanding the black woman, all hell broke loose. Like when I was looking at videos on YouTube of her being interviewed on different talk shows like Geraldo and stuff, because she used to be a frequent on Geraldo.
Yeah.
I think mainly for ratings because they already knew how it was going to be. You
Yeah.
had
Phil
all them people
Donahue
in that
too.
audience all them people in the audience, both, believe it or not, both the men and the women trying to come at her neck about that book.
They sure
And it's
did.
like I said, the fact that you're so upset and uptight about it lets you know that what she said was real. And most of y'all probably didn't even read the book. If y'all read
Nope.
it, y'all will probably see that there's some good lessons in that book. And to this
Yeah.
day, they are still mad at her about that book. And you know
Oh,
what it is?
honey.
Because she is a black woman that told the tricks of the trade. She basically put
Yeah,
black women's business on blast. And
that's
basically,
true.
it wasn't supposed to it wasn't supposed to get to that point. It was supposed to be locked up like Pandora's box, and she unlocked Pandora's box, and what was inside that box got unleashed to the world. So now everybody knows how the modern black woman, at least at that time and even today, operates, especially with black men.
Absolutely. Oprah would never have her on her show if she had
Oh,
one, or promote her
oh,
book.
most definitely not.
That goes
Most
against the
definitely
the
not.
code right there.
What I found interesting though is that she appeared on a lot of white talk shows.
Yeah,
So
Donahue is one of them.
yeah, Donahue. I forgot. I think wasn't she on Jenny Jones?
Yeah, I believe so. I gotta look back, but yeah, she
Yeah.
definitely did the daytime talk show circuit.
Because at that time, it was two black people that that I think America feared the most. Well, I would say black women didn't like Shahrazad Ali, but as
True.
far as America, Dr. Khalid Muhammad,
Oh my God.
they they were fearful of that man. Like
Ooh, wee.
they were scared to death of him.
Ooh,
They
he
probably
scared the
threw a
shit out of white America.
they probably threw a parade when he died
Yeah, you know they did. You
because he
know
was
they
one of
did.
those guys.
After he said, "Get the babies," and I'll never forget that speech that he made. He said, "Get them, bury them, dig them up, and kill them, and bury them again." I was like, "God damn,
Yeah, that guy was
that
that
was
guy was
everything."
yeah yeah. Let's see what else she's talking about. She says Smith acknowledges what is accomplished with the failure to see black women as victims of nearly any sort, regardless of all we're up against, which includes devastating rates of rape and domestic abuse, topics that Chappelle has often mined for laughs. We haven't been neglecting black women as substance of flesh and bone, fiber and liquids in minds through some collective black male brain fart. We've done so because we have come to believe in patriarchy and male dominance as the realization of freedom. Now, there's this
Mhm.
statistic that they've made up because I truly believe it's a made up one where they said black women dies at the hands of a black man every 6 hours. I said, where from the crevice of your ass did you pull that from?
Right?
Because I don't believe that for a single solitary millisecond that even
Mm-mm.
happens.
No.
Because I'm like, if that was the case, black women's numbers would be declining in a rapid rate.
Yeah, they would.
I don't know where that so-called stat came from. And I actually Googled to see if I could find it, but I couldn't find it.
I haven't either. So you know
Okay.
she's in full on cap.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm guessing these Roman numerals are just quotes that she's pulling from different things that Dave Chappelle has said, and then she writes a whole little hit piece behind it. She says
Yeah.
Hollywood is no place for moral absolutism. You know what I mean? We must never forget that R. Kelly peed on a 15-year-old girl, and he also wrote "I Believe I Can Fly." Same guy, same lifetime. If I showed you that video of him peeing on that girl and scored it to "I Believe I Can Fly," you'd be torn. And that came from the Bird Revelation 2017.
Mm.
A famous Chappelle Show sketch mocks the infamous tape of R. Kelly urinating on a underage black girl that first circulated in black barbershops over bootleg tables and on porn sites in 2002. You don't think that thing didn't make its way to a black hair salon?
Shit.
She's trying to make it seem like only black men watched that tape. It was plenty of black women who watched it too.
Everybody. Shit, I watched it. Like, come
I
on.
seen, even when I was a kid, I saw glimpses of it because back then, that's when they had the VHSs and the video quality wasn't good, like really that good, and you could just it was
Right.
kind of choppy. But to make it seem like it was only black men that saw that tape, cap, cap all over
Full
that,
on.
Jamila.
All over.
Everybody saw that tape. I think just as much people saw that tape as they saw that Kim Kardashian and Ray J sex tape back in the day.
Absolutely.
And that was back before you had online porn sites. At least back then, if they did have, you had to pay for them. But now that stuff is free. That was back before Pornhub.
I would
So
venture to say they saw that just as much as they saw Madonna's sex book.
Right.
Didn't that come out around the same time, like mid
I think
90s?
I think so. And before that whole thing with R. Kelly and Kim Kardashian, the biggest sex tape at the time was the Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee tape back
Yep,
in the mid
yep,
'90s.
yep,
That was a big deal because that was back during her Baywatch days.
yep.
So yeah, everybody remembers that. But then when that R. Kelly one happened, it's like, oh wow. So, but yeah, to make it seem like it was only in black barbershops, don't think that they didn't make a stop over at the hair salons, and don't think that they didn't watch it themselves, or maybe even seen it before they got there.
Right.
It says in a video for a song called "I Wanna Pee on You," Chappelle instead cast adult women instead of satirizing Kelly as an alleged predator. We already knew he'd marry Aaliyah when she was 15. He's merely mocked for an unhygienic kink. R. Kelly was acquitted of child pornography charges in 2008, but this September he was convicted of sexual exploitation of a child and sex trafficking, among other crimes, and whose victims include Aaliyah, and faces more child pornography charges related to the 2008 case. He has maintained his innocence. It is hard for me as a woman in her 30s to think about the reactions I saw adult black men and women. Well, I'm glad she threw women in there, because if
Yeah.
she would have just said black men, we had to pause it again. Have to have to the Kelly tape back then, and for many years after. To me, it seems that bit and the positive reception to it spoke volumes about the inability of Chappelle and most people to have empathy for black girls and women. We wouldn't laugh side by side with white folks about any of the instances of black men or boys being harmed by state violence. That is a lie.
Yeah.
That is a whole lie.
Mm, mm, mm.
She gonna sit up there and say that they wouldn't laugh side by side with white people when black bodies are on the floor. Now, you couldn't tell by some of the stuff that these divestors be posting up on social media.
For real, for real. I She is full of shit, man. I
She is.
swear. Mm.
How could black women be asked to laugh at rape jokes alongside essentially the same folks who'd be allowed to rape us with impunity? It's the black ass lie. Scholar and sister friend Brittany Brothwaite dropped the gem in a recent conversation. There is this communal grief over the death of black men, but not over the rape of black women. People get so upset that they have to miss work because they read about a man they never met getting killed in a city they never been to. But when it comes to crimes against black women's bodies, she says the cognitive dissonance is astounding. That Okay, so we're just going to ignore Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Rakia, was it Rakia
Boy.
McBride? I'm sorry, Rakia
Yeah.
Boyd, Ayanna Stanley Jones, and I can name so many
And
more. She probably couldn't even.
don't forget the 13 black women that was raped by Daniel
By
Holtzclaw. Where was her
get
voice then?
Dirty Dick, as I call him, Dirty Dick Danny. And who's the
Yep.
one and who's the one waving the flag of him? That Michelle Malkin.
Yep. Giving cover.
So for her to say that is, again, all cap, because black people, black men were out there when those women and them girls were killed or hurt.
Yeah.
So, like, if you look through the crowds, it wasn't just black women out there. My question to Jamilah Lemieux were you out there?
And the answer to that would be hell no. We
Exactly.
already know this.
Exactly. That's my question to her. Was she out there?
Yeah.
The airing of a two-part 10-hour docuseries dedicated to decades of his sexual violence should have had the nation in a chokehold a la Roots. If black women and girls cannot summon the enthusiastic support of our own folks, you can easily guess what sort of solidarity we enjoy from white folks and non-black people of color, many of whom gladly benefit from the fact that at least of them aren't black and female, but also from the amount of labor black women perform on behalf of diversity causes. 846, the acclaimed short special from Chappelle released during the racial reckoning of summer 2020, was recorded during a season of protests inspired by the death of Breonna Taylor beginning in May. Note that Taylor was killed back in March, but he managed to talk about police violence for nearly half an hour without naming a single black woman who'd fallen victim to it. He did make the time to drag a right-wing darling who shall not be named, stop platforming these people, and rapper Azalea Banks, nodding to when the latter made blog headlines in 2020 after claiming she and Chappelle had sex. She said, I'll tell, like Azalea Banks, I'll tell, he vows as a punchline. So she got mad because allegedly uh, Dave Chappelle didn't mention black women in his special.
Mm. Wow.
Again, that's why I cannot take Jamilah Lemieux seriously, because for me, this does not scream that she's talking about getting justice for black women. It's just that the fact that they're a woman is just all that's needed.
Right.
Again, the feminist leads with her gender first.
Yeah.
Cooper suggests that among black men and black women, perhaps there is a gender empathy gap. She cites research that finds that women in general receive inadequate treatment for various forms of pain and theorizes that the ramifications are broader reaching for black women. Black men frequently don't acknowledge our vulnerability and don't seem to think we need defending and don't feel a political responsibility to hold black women who aren't their mothers or sisters or daughters up and honor them.
Mm.
And that's from Professor Crunch, because that last name
Yeah.
Cooper, who said that.
Wow.
She said the erasure of black bitches, again that word,
Damn.
murdered by the state reminded me of the. And keep in mind that this is Vanity Fair, so this was most likely approved by a white woman.
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
being
You
honest.
already know.
Reminded me of the polarizing effects to center us in the anti-police violence movement sparked by the death of Missouri teen Mike Brown in 2014. Though many of us know many of the most visible young organizers were black women and or LGBTQ plus people, there were others who felt that acknowledging how these populations fare at the hands of the police distracted from the bigger picture. I took many trips to Ferguson to cover the protests, and I was always struck by the presence of black trans women. I knew they knew that the community would never have shown up for them in the same numbers. So now she's headed into the academy sector of it and saying that she went to Ferguson and saw a lot of black trans people that were there in support of Mike Brown and his family and all of that was going on, but then flips it
Mm-hmm.
and said, I know if the same thing happened to them, that many people who went there for Mike Brown would not show up for them. And honestly, when you hear about a lot of the way a lot of the people who are trans in that community, the way that they die, a lot of the times, and they don't like to tell you this, is because they were stealthing.
Right.
And for those of y'all who don't know what stealthing is, that's basically them pretending to be something that they're not, or they like, for instance, if this is a trans woman, they pretend to be a woman, they meet up with a guy thinking that they're a woman, and then they find out it's like a crime game situation and the man ends up killing them.
Yeah, pretty much.
But then what they'll do is they'll take that situation and say, if the person who was trans is black and the person who killed them is black, then they want to make a big deal about it. But I noticed that whenever the person who does that to them happens to not be black, they don't make a big fuss about it. Why? Because they need the black man to be the big black boogeyman.
Yep.
See, there's no balance. There's no
No, there
balance
isn't.
there.
Hmm.
Let's see. She said, I'm trying to figure out where did I leave off. Okay, she says, indeed, some of the people marching for Mike Brown would have gladly participated in violence against those bitches. And until the deaths of Taylor and Sandra Bland, it would have been easy for many to believe that black women aren't victims of police violence at all. The Black as Life finds us able to focus only on one target. Despite Chappelle's shortcomings with regard to understanding and reflecting the experiences of black women and LGBTQ plus people, those of all races consider him to be an important black voice. Watching Chappelle's show is essentially as close to reading critical race theory as the average American white boy will likely ever get. People go to him for profound racial insight. Sometimes he delivers, other times he is weighed down by how little he seems to think black people who aren't what he considered men. If we can't challenge him to think a little bit more deeply about certain urgent issues, that has profound ramifications. And at least for some of us bitches, it hurts like shit. Who doesn't want to laugh at a Dave Chappelle joke? She's killing me with how many times she's mentioning bitches in this article. I lost
I
count.
know, right? And there's a connotation of hatred when she says it too. I don't know if you picked up on it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely picked up on it. Yeah,
Like, you
like
black bitches, how come you're not standing with me? How come you're not marching with me and banging your fists like I am? You should be just as mad as I am. That's what I'm picking
exactly.
up on it. That's the energy
Hmm.
she's giving out.
Exactly. But until he started making the trans community his favorite punching bag, we didn't talk much about Chappelle's misogyny and homophobia. And that's another word they misuse is homophobia or anything with phobia. Because last time I checked, phobia meant to be scared of something, but again, they bastardized the word and
Right.
flipped it to a talking point where it gives them a shield from people talking about them. When
Yeah.
critics spoke of the comic, it was typically just to gush over how brilliant he is, how absolutely sharp the racial lens of the guy behind Third World Girls Gone Wild. In the gorgeous If He Hollers Let Him Go, a National Magazine Award finalist essay, the writer Rachel Kadzi Gansa is among the chorus. Dave Chappelle is without a doubt his generation's smartest comic, citing his upbringing around Jewish kids, black kids, and Vietnamese immigrants. She credits the comic with using these experiences to become America's consul and translator for all things racial. More than any comic of his generation, he lanced the boil of how race works and also prided at how nuanced race had become. It might be incredible that someone could compel such praise as a racial translator, a spokesperson for his people, while having such a shitty lens on gender and sexuality. Alas, what more can you expect when the black man needs are black needs? The black man's plight is the black plight, but when it comes to the black bitches, again, we're on our own. We have ourselves and sometimes some of the other bitches to call upon that's due in part to the black ass lie. So basically, she's trying to say that whenever something is going on with black men, everyone should just drop whatever it is they're doing and just focus on us. Well, if you feel that way, then you need to blame the media because they
For
definitely
real.
play a huge part in that. But we know she's
Yeah.
not going to go that far and actually say that. I highly doubt that she mentions that in this article. I mean, if we've gone through so much of the article already. If she hasn't mentioned it by now, she's not going to mention it.
No, she won't.
And again, that's not another divestment thing where she says we're on our own. Like if they don't feel like care about us, then we are gonna go on our own. But see, the thing is, I don't think people like Jamilah Lemieux can make it on their own because look at this whole
No.
article that we read so far.
Yeah.
This just shows right here if she couldn't last, probably I'll give her a week. She probably wouldn't be able to function. She'll be ready to run back.
Oh yeah.
Chappelle both feeds the myth and uses it to protect himself. In 2017's The Age of Spin, Dave Chappelle live at the Hollywood Palladium. He tells a young white woman confronting him about the way he leverages his racial identity to wave off accusations of misogyny. Bitch, how the fuck are you going to yell at a black man about discrimination? His great intellect does not lead him down a road in which he considers how a young black woman shares his heckler views might experience being both, and instead, he again uses it to trick audience out of thinking black men can participate in patriarchy. This is a cruel, cruel joke on the bitches, particularly the black bitches. All of us Negroes who aren't black cishet men. My thing is this. He's talking to a young white woman. What made you think he was referring to you?
Right.
Where did she?
Maybe in her mind, not only is she like, talking to the many voices in her head, but maybe in her mind she thinks she's white. Like, I
Hey,
just got a really
strong
good tan
possibility.
on the outside. I'm white on the inside though.
Right,
You think?
like an Oreo, basically.
Yeah.
Like, how did in the world does she translate to him talking to a young white woman to a black? But see, that goes back to what Damon Young said about black men being the white men of the community. So she saw that
Hmm.
too. She probably saw Dave Chappelle as a white male in that aspect.
Yeah.
Many things can be true at once, and we struggle to recognize that black men have always been and continue to be profiled, stereotyped, and mistreated based on pervasive mythology, and that there are black men among us, not the majority, of course not, who are abusive and violent, and that sometimes these men are ones we really love, and that because the majority of the violence committed by those individuals will be inflicted on other black people, it is a black concern. Men have always been violent, and men of all races rape are not reasons for us to ignore that. And now keep in mind, she's writing this part right here in red.
Hmm.
Ignore that black women face higher rates of sexual assault, domestic violence, and murder than most other groups of women in this country.
Mm.
And if she could have put at the end of that by black men, she would have. And I
Yeah.
think that's where she wanted to go with it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because she made sure she said men have always been violent and men of all races rape. Well, guess what? There are women who are violent, and there are also women who rape.
Yeah.
Mary Kay Letourneau, ring a bell?
Thank you.
That's a go-to right there. And there's so many
Yeah.
more. I don't know if you get, I did a story about this teacher in New York who pulled a Mary Kay.
Oh yeah.
And not only did she get a slap on the wrist, but they let this woman come back to work at the same job in which she committed the crime at, while that student, I believe, was still going there. And she
Wow.
didn't even get and she didn't even end up on the sex offenders list. That's a benefit that most women who commit these acts get. There are not a lot of women on that sex offenders list who
Was
should
this
be
the
on it.
same one who said that she was too pretty to go to jail? Was that the one you're talking about?
I can't remember if that was her or not. And if she said that she was too pretty, I can remember her face. She was
Blonde,
mediocre.
big blue eyes.
I don't think she even was mediocre. She wasn't blonde. She was a brunette.
Okay. Well, this
But I
one
can't
was
remember
blonde
if she
who
said
had
that.
the nerve to say she was too pretty to go to jail. And they pretty much agreed with it. They didn't let her go to jail. She got away. She
Wow.
got a slap on the wrist. Yeah,
Wow.
sure did.
Okay. Chappelle uses the fact Chappelle uses the fact that he's a black guy, a king of oppression. Since when? Now keep in mind, she said uses the fact that he's a black guy, a king of oppression. That was a that while she was talking about Dave Chappelle, that could have been directed at black men, period. A
Yeah.
black guy, a king of oppression. So the black men out there that's listening, preferably the heterosexual black men, we are the kings of oppression.
Yeah. The oppression Olympics. Yeah.
Make it make sense. To escape criticism for his jokes that harm groups to which he does not belong. In the process, he both emphasizes his own identity as most marginalized of them all, and pretends that black women and academy folks don't get their asses kicked from every angle. If you do, it's not because, well, for those in the academy, it's not because you are in the academy. And if you are a
Right.
black woman, it's not because you're just a woman, it's because you're black. I mean, what?
Exactly.
I mean, how hard is that to grasp?
It's
Like
pretty
when
hard
black
for her.
men, when black men, when we deal with what we deal with, we don't say, "Oh, they're only coming after me because I'm a black man." They're just coming after us because we're black.
Right.
I mean, last I checked. But again, this is her leading with her gender,
Yep.
and those in the academy leading with their sexuality.
Yep.
And that's never a good thing, because remember that one about the guy in Virginia, I think it was Virginia last year. He was in the
Hmm.
academy, a black guy, and he got beat by them cops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that situation right there. They didn't come after him because he's in the academy. They didn't ask him first, "Are you or aren't you?" They just saw a
Right.
black man that they could come after, and they did that. And they beat him so bad he ended up in the hospital.
Sure
I
did.
think he almost died.
Yeah.
And I said, I bet
Absolutely.
you those in the academy are not going to talk about this, whether they are black, white, or otherwise. And sure enough, I didn't hear that much talk come from them about that story. So that shows right there, they don't care about their own. They only care whenever they can go after the quote unquote patriarchal black man,
Man. Mm.
aka whoever Zaddy tells them to go after.
Right. Got to get them
It
butter
says,
biscuits.
It says, yet a good number of us are inclined to give him cover. We won't let you cancel Dave Chappelle. Seems like the rallying cry of a movement for about 2 weeks. I fully expected t-shirts. Your
Wow.
sarcasm is lacking, Jamilah. I need you to try harder. Part
For
of the
real.
reason that so-called cancel culture is upsetting to black folks is that we are used to having things and people taken away from us under unreasonable circumstances. When Chappelle dangles the idea that someone is trying to silence him, which he's been doing consistently since at least 2017, he's toying with one of the most sensitive ancestral memories, that a black man is being snatched away from us. We don't take kindly to that shit at all because we love our men and boys. You have a very strange way of showing it, Jamilah.
No, yeah.
That's I don't know if they changed the definition of love, but everything that we read up to this point is far from it.
Switch that out with hate and then it would be accurate.
This this isn't even in the lane of like.
Right. Right.
She says, and we will not lose them if we can help it. No, you probably would rather lose us if you could help it. Jamilah?
Shit. She joined in at the bonfire and they throw gasoline on them.
Right. Speaking of bonfire, I wouldn't be surprised if she dances around a bonfire.
For real.
and makes little chants and calls like she's a witch.
I know, have
Chappelle
a little
doesn't.
booty butt naked sister circle and just do a whole fucking hoedown, like right
Oh,
around the circle.
could you imagine it? Could you imagine if Professor Crunch was in that? Ugh.
Oh God. Oh my God. Thanks for ruining my appetite.
It says Chappelle, it says Chappelle doesn't simply suggest that this movement to silence the outspoken will do him in. In 2017's Equanimity, he threatens to quit comedy over it. Shut the fuck up or we're going to lose a good black man is what many of us heard. That's what you heard. Yet famous black men are rarely canceled. That's because they benefit more than any other group of black men from the black ass line. So this is her. So this right here is her pitting heterosexual black men versus those who are not. That's
wow. Y'all mean to tell me you didn't cancel Cosby? You didn't cancel a whole bunch of. You didn't cancel like what's his name, who came to Cosby's defense? That you don't even hear about him anymore. Another comedian. Like there was so many black men that just got thrown under the bus. Like we don't cancel them. Come on.
Meanwhile, you got Billy Porter out here wearing whole ballroom gowns.
And
nobody's canceling him.
Hell no. And because you know why? He apologized quickly. He apologized for basically coming out of pocket. What was it that he said? It was something that he had said a while ago, and he had to like kind of backpedal.
He said a lot of things. I lose track. Like he said a lot of out of pocket stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he had to like kindly like walk it on back in order to get into the good graces. Like, oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, the same thing that works for, your white counterparts and not the same shit that's going to work for you, Billy. It's just not. Eddie Griffin. Thank you, Spidey. Eddie Griffin. He came out. He was like, basically, black men do not leave clean. Not famous black men anyway. They will always have an asterisk by their name. And that's the truth.
Exactly.
They will always get thrown under the bus.
She says, when we see one of them being in any sort of trouble, black folks swoop in to protect them regardless of the circumstances because we are thinking of all the black men and boys that have been snatched from us for no reason. That is a whole lot. We do not throw the cape on for every black man. But the reason why we will do that is because we know the history in this establishment that black males tend to get lied on a lot for a lot of stuff that they did not do. Perfect example. Look at how many black men are in jail now and get exonerated 20, 30, 40, 50 years later because, they didn't do it. By the way, they didn't do it.
Right.
It seems like there's one or two every month who's been in jail for, I just did it on my live stream. I talked about this woman named Joyce Watkins, who was a black woman back in the 80s who was accused of killing this girl, her and her then boyfriend. And she was in jail for like 20 or 30 years before she got out. And her boyfriend was in there the same amount of time. But unfortunately, he died in prison before he could get exonerated.
Wow.
So he never got to experience, like his last bit of freedom was back in the 80s. He never got to experience freedom again off of something that he was falsely accused of. Look at the Century Park 5. They spent how many years in jail before they got exonerated for a rape that they did not commit?
Wow.
So I don't know what she's talking about when she's in that aspect of saying that we swoop in and we like save and throw the cape on for all black men. When we really don't, but we will thoroughly examine before we write them off.
Yeah.
Now when it comes to these Sambos, then that's another story. Of course, they already been written out. When it comes to them, then it is what it is. Same thing with you, Jamilah. You're in that same boat.
I think she was pointing that more towards black women when she made that particular statement. Because maybe in her mind, she thinks that black women, we cape for our black men, we'll come to their defense. We will only come to their defense if we know that bullshit is being played. Simple as that. We don't cape for everybody.
Exactly, because that's impossible. You can't throw the cape on for every single person. That's impossible.
Right. So I think that was more directed towards us black women. She was just pissed. She's just
Yeah.
mad and alone.
Okay. She says, when a beloved brother faces allegations of violence, particularly against women, we are reminded of the black men and boys who were taken away from us forever because of false accusations of inappropriate behavior. And we think of the racist propaganda designed to cast black men as brutes and sexual terrorists. We're thinking of Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, of so many men and boys murdered because they represented a dangerous threat to white womanhood. Number 3. You see that shit on Rush Hour Traffic? They beat a black woman's ass. This woman didn't even do anything wrong. It's fucked up. It was just so fucked up and didn't even go to court. The city of LA just gave that woman $1.5 million for her pain and suffering. That is not bad, considering the same amount of money that Marcos Medina, I'm not sure if I pronounced his name correct, made to fight Floyd Mayweather the second time. And this woman obviously hasn't trained a day in her life. You can see it on the tape. She didn't come to fight. Her guards were low. She was taking a lot of shots, and that came from the age of spin in 2017. Just as Chappelle admits in the age of spin to admiring O.J. Simpson as well as to believing that Simpson murdered 2 people, O.J. Simpson did not have Black America's support because people believed he was innocent. It was a combination of apathy for the victims. Hey, we've got centuries of history being maimed and murdered by a group of people that never faces consequences. What do you expect to happen to our hearts over time? And the instinctive refusal to let go of a beloved black man. And the same lack of empathy, though under very different circumstances, that allow Chappelle and others to lament not the harm that Kevin Hart's history of homophobia might have caused to black gay boys in particular, but instead to grieve his fellow comedians' loss of the opportunity to host the Oscars in 2019. I know what she's talking about with that with the Kevin Hart thing.
Yeah.
And they had to reach back 10 years for that. Because I think
know.
they said it was a conversation he was having with his son back in 2009, and I think it has something about the doll or something like that, and Kevin Hart had said something about dolls being for girls, and he had slipped and said something, that would be seen as offensive to those in the Academy, and they reached all the way back for that and used that as a reason. What was that?
She didn't reach back far enough, because how come she couldn't have mentioned all of the anti-dark-skinned black women sentiments that he had made? She didn't make it about that. That's how it's about the LGBTQ.
Mm-hmm. But this is the person who cares about women, right?
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Absolutely.
Not only do we not cancel famous black men, and she keeps peddling that lie, many of us seem incapable of or unwilling to truly deal with what they have done to beg the conversation about supposed cancellation in the first place. Refusing to believe what they read the system white folks say about men also leaves us refusing to hear what victims are saying or to think of their humanity with the same weight we give that of the accused. She keeps saying that we don't cancel famous black men.
Wow. She's delusional.
Very. I can think of a couple of women that need to be canceled. This one right here is one of them.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, Jamilah is not relevant enough to even be canceled because she's not a thought. That's the thing. She's not even an afterthought.
No, she's not.
The black reaction to O.J. Simpson was the perfect storm of a lot of things, including our many issues around white women and black men, the history of lies, violence, and racial terror on white women's part, the boundary crossed by the men. But when the alleged victim is black, the calls for racial solidarity on behalf of the accused are still clearly heard and heeded. Chris Brown. Oh, they mentioned Chris Brown.
Oh, shit.
Chris Brown's abuse of Rihanna. They said abuse as if he was in an ongoing domestic abuse with her. As far as we know, it was just that one incident.
And not to cape for Rihanna, because she is not my favorite person. She even admitted, after the fact, that she was the one that initiated that whole fight between them. She eventually admitted, yeah, I put hands on him first. So her argument is just, Yeah.
It says, spurring countless debates among us over whether the assault that became public was an attack or a fight between 2 people. It's definitely the latter, because she admitted it was a fight between 2 people. Once the image of Barbadian I almost read that as barbarian. I almost read that as barbarian.
You're not
Singers,
wrong, no. I'm hurting. She had a
singer,
temper.
yeah. Her own dad came out and said that she had a temper. Yeah,
Yeah.
the person, yeah, her own father said it. Singer brutalized face halted that route of defense, though some said she simply lost the fight. Brown was cast as a troubled young man in need of our sympathy, not criticism. A subsequent girlfriend would also allege domestic violence. Pictures of him physically intimidating her would become a meme. Brown has never become the level of mainstream star he once was poised to be, but he has remained successful on the R&B chart. So basically what she's saying is she's trying to give examples of black men who are famous that have not been canceled. That's what she's
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
Kanye West said
Oh
slavery
Lord.
was a choice. Wore blue contacts as a grown-ass adult black man and once rapped, "My bitch make your bitch look like Precious," using the title from the heartbreaking 2009 film to imply that his white woman was so fine, she makes black bitches look fat, blacker, and thus ugly by comparison. As long as he can find his way to a gospel choir, any real meaningful reckoning with his actions will remain elusive, even if the critique might have made him grow.
God. I swear.
Oh, we got another entry. When Tory Lanez
Mm.
allegedly shot Megan Thee Stallion feet as she walked away from it, didn't they come out and say that she wasn't shot in the foot though?
No, actually she was.
Okay.
But yeah, she definitely was. But they're saying now it possibly wasn't him. It was possibly the other girl in the car that did it. Because there was a like
See,
a
that's why they've
love
been quiet.
triangle situation going on there.
And see, that's why they've been real quiet about it. See, but when it was all on him, they dog piled on him. But when it came out that it most likely wasn't, hit it, there they go.
Yep.
As she walked away from him, scores of young black people took to social media to defend him. Completely absent from most of the talk over the baby's controversial behavior last summer was the fact that he also brought Lanez out as a surprise guest during his Rolling Loud Miami set in July. Seemingly to troll the the WAP rapper, the appearance violated the restraining order obtained by Megan against Lanez, who was charged with assault and weapons possessions following the July 2020 incident. Lanez, who awaits trial, has pled not guilty. Need I mention the black public support of Bill Cosby and R. Kelly? All the bitches within me are tired. She must be
Mm.
talking to all the bitches from within her body.
Yeah.
She has to be.
Are you starting to think like I am? Like she might very well have like a mental illness because she keeps talking
Right.
about herself like, all
Yeah.
these voices in me, they tired of this shit. Like, okay.
We lose so much when we silence valid critiques of art, especially when that art has the potential to do harm. Despite the protestations of generations of artists who have argued against the possibility of such a thing, art can hurt. Would Chappelle's most fervent supporters, particularly the ones flying the free speech banner, be comfortable if Netflix started streaming The Birth of a Nation, the original racist one, or sign a big deal with a white comedian who shares Chappelle's love for the N-word? And how should people feel who feel targeted by a piece of art respond if not by saying, "I don't like this shit"? So basically, she's summarizing this whole thing of saying, you're attacking me through art, and we're supposed to just accept it because it's under the umbrella of art.
Right. Mm,
But I guess in Jamilah's viewpoint, if it was a black woman that was doing it, she could get away with it, it would be all good, right?
I guess.
So, sometimes the funniest thing to say is mean. You know what I mean? It's a tough position to be in. So I said a lot of mean things, but you guys got to remember, I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm saying it because it's funny. Bird Revelation 2017. That isn't to say that Chappelle isn't scraping up against some important truths. When he asks why is it that the baby faced more severe consequences for using homophobic language than he did for shooting a shooting incident in North Carolina at Walmart that left a 19-year-old black man dead, he's almost on to something. You can shoot and kill a nigga, but you better not hurt a gay person's feelings. Charges against the baby related to the shooting were dropped. Now, that's probably the most honest thing she said in this entire article. And the thing
Yeah.
is, it's so honest because it didn't come from her.
True.
Put that way, it sounds like a reasonably maddening dilemma, but one that implies that there are usually such consequences for Black men's homophobia. And that goes back to the thing of where they keep trying to say Black men are the most homophobic people ever. I'm sitting here to say to myself, what Black man is on these boards that's keeping or passing legislation to keep to keep people who are in the academy out of certain things or from doing certain things? The
Right.
most we could ever do is just say something maybe derogatory or something about you that you may not like. But when it comes
Exactly.
to passing these bills, that's when you should really be concerned
Yeah.
for your own, for your own benefit. But they don't want to acknowledge that,
No, too much like right.
right? Or anyone else's for that matter. If that were the case, that the average person could be held accountable for anti-gay rhetoric or behavior, then it wouldn't remain so present in the lives of queer people. There wouldn't be kids and adults killing themselves because it's too often socially permissible in churches and schools, on the internet, in workplaces, in comedy clubs to make gay people feel like shit for being gay. According to filmmaker and humorist, is this Cancer Phillips? Because that's the only one I could think of. And a humorist. Nothing she says to me is even remotely funny. She's funny looking. She looks like she looks like the if the brown she looks like the brown M&M if it came in a peanut form.
Damn. Oh
And
my
think about it,
God.
and now think about it, doesn't the brown M&M wear glasses just like she does?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
The stakes are just too high for someone like Chappelle with that much spotlight and notoriety, erasing the existence of Black, queer, and trans people. When Chappelle releases something, I find myself in conversation about it with my family because Black folks revere him. His thoughts on our most vulnerable brothers and sisters are taken seriously. If Dave Chappelle can ignore us, they can too. Excuse me?
What the fuck?
And this is
Oh,
another person who's leading with their sexuality first. Because when
yeah.
she said brothers and sisters, she wasn't talking about Black people. She was talking
Hell
about
no.
those in the academy for sure when
Right.
she said that.
Mm.
See, these are some off code people. These to those out there listening, if y'all want to know what off code looks and sounds like, refer to this article that I'm reading.
Absolutely.
That is also not to say that there is no racial element at play when it comes to the case of the baby. When one makes a blanket statement about the academy, they are making a statement about a group that includes white folks, specifically white men, some of whom are quite powerful. Every marginalized group has people in power. It does not solve much for the rest of us, which is why the Obama presidency didn't fix Black America any more than Chappelle's multi-million-dollar Netflix check reflects a path upward for anyone outside of his household and off of his payroll. Offending white folks is a clear path to trouble for Black people. The power their feelings about us have over the trajectory of our lives is never to be underestimated. Now, notice that they're mentioning right there, finally, the role white people play in this. It took them how many paragraphs for her to say that?
Countless.
We've been on this thing for over an hour, and this is the first time she really mentions the role white people who are within the academy, specifically white men, play. And I won't be surprised if she doesn't mention it again. Because remember, this is all about making the heterosexual Black man look bad. But she had to throw
Yeah.
a little salt in there. But
Yep.
now she's about to go back to the pepper. The
Damn.
baby pissed off some white folks, thus he had to pay. But that does not mean, and she was right, and I'll give her that. She was right about that because it wasn't until Elton John said something
Yep.
that's when they really started to go at him because they wasn't listening to the Black people in the academy. They wasn't listening to them, and they were making the
Yeah.
most noise.
Right.
It was Elton John who said something, and then that's when they decided to make a move. That's why she made that remark. Now she
Yeah.
didn't mention Elton John in this article, but Elton John was definitely the one that made that sounded off about it. But
Yep.
that does not mean that Black gay people also have power over the baby, nor that the balance of power has shifted in our community in favor of them. In fact, there is something heartbreaking about the fact that while white money can challenge Black homophobia in a profound public way, pleas for respect from Black gay people asking to be treated like our brothers and sisters are not answered in kind. Oh, pull out the violin. Pull out the little tiny violin. There it is. So you basically want to be coddled by those in the academy who are PC. You want to have that same power they have to cancel somebody, but you can't, and they're not going to let you, because Dub S flows through every part of society, even within the academy. It says gay people are minorities until they need to be white again. Chappelle complains in the closer, disappearing Black gays, trans folks, and women into whiteness in a way that is not at all unique to him. Somewhere buried in the nonsense is an interesting and accurate observation about the white gay community conveniently being able to claim whiteness at will, Roxanne Gay wrote for the New York Times. There's a compelling observation about the relatively significant progress of the academy community has made, while progress toward racial equity has been much slower. But in these formulations, there are no gay Black people. Phillips says Chappelle, erasure speaks to how many Black academy people are forced to contort in order to exist among their own people, including loved ones. So basically what you're saying is, because you're not getting attention from the white gays, you have to try to lean onto Black people as a collective to support you. And if we don't support you, we get all the hell. But you don't send the hell their way. You send a little bit, you send like a little spark, but you don't send the whole flame. Is basically what I'm gathering from this. But you're going to sit up there and insult us and expect us to support you. Just like you had that nut job on Twitter talking about Malcolm X was a bisexual prostitute for white men. And I got a whole commentary coming your way about him. It says there are a ton of jokes and memes about how Black queer people have to hide themselves when they're in community with Black families. She cites as an example Auntie and Her Little Friend, which pokes fun at the tradition of queer women introducing intimate partners to the family as platonic companions. When comments like Chappelle make Blackness a cishet executive experience, it helps my family pretend the levels of my existence aren't real either. All this projection. The work of calling out Chappelle is made all the more difficult because Black men have positioned themselves in society as the epitome of Blackness, according to Phillips, according to her. Not according to stats, but according to her. So to critique them feels like you're critiquing Black people. Meanwhile, you're just trying to get us free. Yes, there's policy and politics, but I want to be safe at home, at church, at the grocery store, and I'm not going to get there by not naming the harm. In the closer, Chappelle admits to resenting the place where he seems to think Black queer folk exist in society, while at the same time erasing them. I am jealous of gay people. Oh, I am jealous. I'm not the only Black person that feels that way. How are you making that kind of progress so quickly? Was he lying? Because I don't think he was lying when he said that. They are making progress very fast, and it's mainly due to their white counterparts. Writer Raquel Willis in a Twitter thread knows that it's convenient for male comments like Chappelle to describe the academy as white. With that frame, they don't have to contend with how Black cishet folks often enact physical and psychological violence on Black academy folks. She describes how Black cishet men struggle to locate their own identity in relation to Black people of other genders who do not see men as the pinnacle. Furthermore, she writes, they feel owed the power that white cishet men have historically had. Meanwhile, they want the power of Miss Anne. I wonder if that's why so many of them are walking around here trying to be her. I don't know. They feel owed that power that white cishet men have had historically had, and they haven't gotten it. They think we've jumped a few steps in the march toward equity anytime they're held accountable for their transphobia and queerphobia. My God. In a world where being seen can be a matter of life or death when it comes to the experiences of Black women and LGBTQ plus people, Chappelle simply chooses to look elsewhere and invites his audience to do the same. Unless, of course, there's a joke to be made at our expense. It's the Black-ass lie that says we should and must support the right of our beloved brother to make us invisible, though he regularly claims to be speaking on behalf of Black people. I hate that word cishet. Why don't they just say Black men? Just say that. All these terms. You know what? I'm actually going to stop it right there because y'all pretty much get the idea and get the gist of what's going on. That was a lot to read. That was a lot to unpackage.
It was.
Yeah, I said, let me go ahead and stop. It was only like about, I think it was like 3 more paragraphs left, but I felt like I was getting a headache. That was just absolutely insane to read all of that in what we just went through.
Man,
I felt like I told y'all this article was long and it was gonna be filled with a bunch of BS.
You were not lying.
Did I get past the part that you was at that you stopped on?
Actually, you went well past it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
you went.
That means you didn't get that. You didn't get that far. And you know, good thing you didn't. See, I took care of something so you didn't have to. And to those in the chat, I took care of it. No problem. And to those in the chat, I'm doing this for y'all. But my God, that was stressful. Reading that would probably make someone who probably doesn't even or has never taken a drink in their life take a drink.
I mean, seriously. Like either that or just jump off of a roof somewhere.
Yeah, but yeah, that's like I said, that's Jamilah LaPuke and Professor Crunch. And the thing is, every time Brittany Cooper tweets something on Twitter, her mentions get ran through. Because she's always talking a bunch of BS. And she thinks people be on her side. Like she actually thinks that she be posting facts.
Right.
And
maybe
Jamilah,
it's in her mind.
Right. And Jamilah, she thinks this whole article that she wrote was just the epitome of journalism. It's not.
No,
it's not
even a little bit. It was a full-on hit piece. I felt I got a lot of hurt feelings from it. A lot of bitterness came out of that article. She was just really pissed, just mad and bitter.
Most definitely. Yeah. So according to her, Black heterosexual men ain't shit. We got to uplift Black women and the Black LGBTQ plus 1, 2, 3 Roman numerals IXII and all of that, and then some. Because we apparently to them, we are the enemy. We are their enemy. We are their mortal enemy. They'll mention PC every now and then, but just know that we're public enemy number 1. And this is exactly why Jamilah Lemieux and Brittany Cooper are a part of the Blackarian series.
Yeah.
Most definitely. But absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. Kim, I was so glad that you was able to come up here. I know it was last minute because originally, like I said, I was going to do this by myself, but you said that, you made yourself available and you're here. The chat, they vibed with us the entire time. They were very engaged with the article. They were probably just as stressed out listening to it as we were having to decipher it. But, so those of y'all who are listening in the chat, when I'm going through the different articles and stuff like that that y'all send me, it's sort of the same thing. Probably not as bad as this, but it depending on the subject matter, it can be a lot. But it's just like this was just mind blowing. But like I said, I had to do this in the form of a live stream because there's no way that this would have worked as a pre-recorded video for me. You saw how long it took for us to read, to get to that point. We didn't even finish it. Right. But we didn't even have to finish it. We get the gist of it now. You just hate Black men. Just say that. That's all you had to say. I hate Black men. Okay. If you would have said that, we're like, okay, we see where you stand. You don't have to give us a whole diatribe, a whole rundown of why you hate us. Just say that. You hate Black men, but they love to say that, we're only doing this because it's out of love. We're just trying to hold you accountable. Nah, that's not love.
No,
that's not being held accountable. It's not.
And that's not even constructive criticism either. It's very mean-spirited.
Mm-hmm. Very.
But I
Yes.
wanted to just take the opportunity to thank you for having me on your show and on your platform. I enjoy listening to what you do, and just thanks. I had no idea I was going to even be able to get on a live today. Really.
Hey, I guess you can say the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that you were able to come up. I think this is actually the first time that I've had you on my channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
It
all
has.
so pretty much it all works out in the end. But I'm glad that you were able to come up. I'm glad that the people, received you well. Again, if y'all are not subscribed to Kim's channel, make sure y'all go ahead and subscribe. She does very good content. Kimberly Frazier, as you can see on the screen, her name, that's her YouTube channel. And just go and subscribe, and she uploads videos frequently as well on her channel too.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you guys for the interaction. I really do.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end on this note. Got to get prepared for that documentary. I got, with that, it's like I'm gonna be watching, taking notes, watching, taking notes. So, because
Yeah.
like I said, I'm gonna do a review about each part on my channel. So I got to get prepared for that. And with that being said, I'm gonna get off of this. Everyone enjoy your weekend. I'm glad that y'all are here. Make sure if y'all are new and not subscribed, make sure that y'all hit that subscription button and hit that bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video or go live. And I will talk to you all later.